Who is Paul Thomas Anderson? The name might not ring any bells for blockbuster fanatics, but for film buffs, it will chime a deafening roar. He's one of the most sophisticated auteurs, one of those filmmakers you know will make the theater visit worthwhile. There are a few qualities to be found in Anderson's filmography with choreographed cinematography, slow burn storytelling, picturesque still shots, featuring stories told with epic scale and anti-hero characters we love to hate, such as Joaquin Phoenix's alcoholic hot-headed Navy veteran in The Master, his unambitious stoner detective in Inherent Vice, Mark Wahlberg's coke-addicted porn star in Boogie Nights, Adam Sandler's socially awkward man-child in Punch Drunk Love, Daniel Day-Lewis's cold-to-the-touch dressmaker in Phantom Thread, and of course his oil-drilling egomaniac in There Will Be Blood.
Abandoned my child. Say it louder. Say it louder. I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
This period drama takes its time to perfect completion, unhurried and is sure of itself. The silence never feels empty. In fact, it's bursting at the seams with tension, texture, and half smiles that could cut the heart right out of you. If you're any kind of cinephile, you probably can't get enough of There Will Be Blood.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!
So, here are some similar titles to tickle your taste buds. Whether by theme, setting, style, topic, or character, these 10 movies share some of the traits that made There Will Be Blood such a knockout vision of the American frontier.
What are you looking so miserable about? There's a whole ocean of oil under our feet. No one can get at it except for me.
Number 10, Truth and Justice. Writer-director Tanel Toom adapted the first volume of A.H. Tamasayer's pentology of books Truth and Justice into a movie in 2019.
Che sicurezza dammi. Mitte kurat, räägis naaber. Vaid jumal ise.
The emotive epic is filled with the essence of memory, a farm owner toiling to fix up his marshy hilltop land and ward off nosy neighbors in 1870. Okay, maybe nosy is putting it lightly. They're out to get Andreas to take his property. Andreas's commitment is admirable, but he's more committed to his beloved land than his actual family. If Plainview fits the bill of an obsessively ambitious man, Andreas keeps his emotions in check to appear strong and always ready. Both of these men are power hungry and demonstrate that they're just on opposite sides of the good guy, bad guy coin. Although Truth and Justice is specific to Estonian history, values and stereotypes, crux of the story has universal appeal. Number 9, First Cow. A24's First Cow basks in the Oregon country backdrop, luxuriating in the sound of wishing river bends and singing crickets, contemplative and intentionally paced. The plot is simple enough. 2 men steal milk and make and sell biscuits. But these aren't any old biscuits. Customers are almost always warring over the last crumb of cookie and King Lou's buttermilk recipe.
I taste London in this cake.
The dreaminess of First Cow's first half unravels because the net that always lies uninevitably traps the characters in a problem of their own making. That said, nothing about the film feels convoluted, and Cookie and King Lou's touching friendship remains the heart of First Cow. First Cow might be less brutal and villainous than There Will Be Blood, but they have tons in common. The Western American period setting, the patient plotting, the still shots, and the criminal enterprise. Sure, baking cookies is no oil magnet's crusade, but the way they're doing it is still illegal. It requires underhanded methods and local trickery. Number 8, Dry Summer. Oil runs thicker than water, but both can be the cause of strain when someone claims ownership of it.
Nasıl istersen öyle kullanırım. Artanı süzün. Ama önce ben dağlarını sulayacağım.
Biz senden sadaka değil su istiyoruz. Bu kapağı mutlaka açtıracağım.
Zorbalığa gelince ben senden korkmam Veli. Sen benden kork.
Set in a rural Turkish village, a greedy tobacco farmer, perhaps even more gritty than Plainview, discovers a spring on his land and decides to covet it from his neighbors. Drought is just about the worst thing for a farmer, which Osman knows and uses to eliminate the competition.
Bu herifte hiç insaf yok. Gene geldi kanımızı kurutmaya.
He forces his little brother Hassan to play along too. Malignant protagonists and desert plains aside, Dry Summer is comparable to There Will Be Blood by its chief plotline of one man trying to control the supply of what's underground. The big finale, where Osman and Hassan have it out once and for all, swaps Anderson's bowling alley and wordplay for fresh air and the wails of an unwidowed wife, but still echoes There Will Be Blood's pinnacle resolution where only death can stop the central feud. Number 7. Meeks Cut Off. Meeks Cut Off is named after an off-branch route of the famous Oregon Trail, where immigrants took their wagons on a life-or-death journey. Reichardt's 2010 Western takes on the Oregon desert in 1845, where real-life fur trapper Stephen Meek leads a lost band of settlers. The famous cast list may surprise you if you haven't heard of Meeks Cut Off. Michelle Williams, Shirley Henderson, Zoe Kazan, and Paul Dano, star of There Will Be Blood himself, this time without the oversized crucifix around his neck. Unlike the sweet nature of Cookie and King Lou, the rapport between the itinerant characters is tense and skeptical. The group's fate lies in the hands of an eccentric stranger, and their cayuse captive whom Meek is desperate to kill. Distrust and ill ease disrupt the tranquil and overbearingly dry landscape.
You people got no idea what you are dealing with here.
Well, neither do you, Mr. Meek. You proved that amply by now.
But Reichard still takes time to honor the beauty surrounding them. The whinny of horses, the rustle of leaves during golden hour, and the crunch of creaky wheels over gravel.
How far do we have to go? How long?
Number 6. Giant. When it comes to James Dean, most people think of Rebel Without a Cause or East of Eden, but Giant also earned Dean an Academy Award nomination. Released after his death, Giant stars Dean as the ranch hand part of a Texan love triangle.
I guess you're about the best looking gal we've seen around here in a long time. I think. Prettiest than I think I've seen down here.
The rugged Jet falls for a married socialite, and just to annoy her wealthy landowning husband, Bick, he strikes oil on the property Bick wanted to buy. Jet makes no bones about hiding his oil-greased luck and throws a huge party where drunken brawls, rejected proposals, and a peppering of racism threatens to ruin the good vibes. Directed by George Stevens, gender roles and worn-out conservative mindsets are put to the test in Giant.
You gentlemen date back 100,000 years. You ought to be wearing leopard skins and carrying clubs. Politics? Business? What is so masculine about a conversation that a woman can't enter into?
The romance and sweeping visuals of classical Hollywood make Giant a treat for any old soul, and one that Martin Scorsese admits is his guilty pleasure movie. Shots of Dean covered in tar-like oil call to mind Plainview smoking his pipe through his blackened sweat. Number 5. Matwin. John Sayles' Matwin recounts the true story of the Battle of Matwin coal miners' strike in 1920. The strike unfolded in the hills of West Virginia where 4 random men from different paths of life band together against a beefy coal company. Social realism loves to get straight to the point, and the effect hits harder without any lingering fingerprints of Hollywood glam.
You think this man is your enemy? Huh? This is a worker. Any union keeps this man out ain't a union. It's a goddamn club.
John Sayles is a big name in independent film circles and perfectly matched to relay the hardship of mining communities in 1920, plagued by pay cuts and poor working conditions. The opening of There Will Be Blood follows Plainview digging for silver in a pit, dialogue-free for 15 minutes. Similarly, Matwin is near wordless in its first scene, where a man struggles beneath the ground, lit only by his headlight amid the rocky earth. The less is more delivery, cinematic style, and enthusiastic preacher character are other common attributes of Matwin and There Will Be Blood. Plus, all the men are at one point or another covered in black muck that mingles with the perspiration of hard labor.
From now on, Stone Mountain don't move one piece of coal unless it's a union man that moves it.
Number 4. Paris, Texas. Paris, Texas is a film that couldn't be set anywhere but America. The space, sand, highways, and peep shows. The 80s neo-western is a Palme d'Or winning cult classic roaming through the Texan desert at its own pace, minimalistic with no need to explain itself, much like There Will Be Blood.
How long have I been gone, do you know? 4 years.
Is 4 years a long time?
Well, it is for a little boy. It's half his life.
The emotions of Wim Wenders's partial road movie are more melancholic and transient than There Will Be Blood. But still, in both of them, complicated feelings live inside complex, not quite explained characters.
Do you think he still loves her?
How would I know that, then, too?
I think he does.
How can you tell?
Well, the way he looked at her.
Number 3. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. The abstract, strung-out nostalgia of Paris, Texas is given a more literal Old West backdrop, adapted from Ron Hansen's 1983 novel of the same name. History meets myth meets folk song meets fiction in Hansen's account of the guerrilla outlaw Jesse James, a standout study piece for anyone pursuing cinematography. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford takes almost 3 hours to depict frontier savannas inhabited by murderous characters without straight-cut motives.
Where's Jim? Where's Jim? Where? You bastard! I don't know where he is! You won't believe me! You never give me a chance!
The tale of train robberies, bounties, and shootouts is told with blurry lens flares and somehow mesmerizing yet matter-of-fact narration by Hugh Rowe.
Reading every gesture and tick, as if he wanted to compose a biography of the outlaw, or as if he were preparing an impersonation.
Number 2, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. A lot of these movie picks go at a drifting speed, and this one is quite literally about drifters. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre is a diamond or perhaps a treasure of Hollywood's golden age, starring Humphrey Bogart and Tim Holt as two roughneck laborers who hear pub talk of gold mining in Mexico and decide to try it out for themselves.
But I tell you, if you was to make a real strike, you couldn't be dragged away. Not even the threat of miserable death would keep you from trying to add 10,000 more. 10, you'd want to get 25, 25, you want to get 50, 50, 100, like roulette. One more turn, always one more.
It wouldn't be that way with me. I swear it wouldn't.
What would you do for gold? Men of the 19th and 20th centuries would do anything for it, as the protagonists of The Treasure of the Sierra Madre and There Will Be Blood essentially sell their souls for money. Plainview is more calculated in his liquid treasure hunting, whereas the characters in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre act impulsively in reaction to their increasingly high-pressure surroundings. After all, lies, traitors, thieves, stalkers, criminals, and killers lurk among the dangerous Mexican mountains. Both are allegorical fables on the hollow reward of a ruthless pursuit for riches.
Get away from my burro.
We can sell those burros for just as good as prices you get.
Get away from my burro, I tell you.
Number 1, No Country for Old Men. The grand finale of No Country for Old Men parallels that of The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Both are vague, open-ended scenes overlaid with lyrical but abrupt narrations. This dance between plain-speaking directness and melodramatic riddles can be found in There Will Be Blood, which fluctuates between red-faced sermons to complete silence. No Country for Old Men is also economical with its dialogue, featuring men of few words on their quietly bloodthirsty quests.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
Josh Brolin plays the Texan welder outrunning Javier Bardem's eerily calm hitman, with Tommy Lee Jones chasing their tails wearing a sheriff badge.
Be careful.
Always am.
Don't get hurt.
Never do.
Don't hurt no one.
If you say so.
It's one of the Coen brothers' most famous movies, who've also successfully produced westerns like True Grit and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Although we've tried to identify lesser-known titles that compare to There Will Be Blood, it's simply impossible not to mention No Country for Old Men, which was released in the same year, competed for the same Academy Awards, and produced a great battle between the two films in a brilliant year for cinema.